Morning, everybody. How are y'all doing today? I'm doing fantastic myself because I went on Thanksgiving break last week. I come back and we're past 3,000 subscribers. And my video on Quantum going over God of War Ragnarok has over 30,000 views and over 1,000 likes. What happened when I was gone? You know what? It doesn't matter. Bottom line, thank you all so much for the ridiculous support recently. And you know what? To celebrate, I was thinking we'd do a 3K sub giveaway. And you know what? Because I just finished 100%ing Miles Morales the other day, we're gonna do a Miles Morales PC giveaway. All you gotta do to enter is leave a like on the video and leave a comment. It doesn't have to be sucking up to me saying like, oh, amazing video or something. I mean, I would appreciate that, but you know, you're not gonna get preference just for saying that. But yeah, leave a comment, like the video, and I will pick a random comment, and then I will announce the winner in my next video as well as how to contact me. But anyway, on to the actual topic of this video. We are going to be looking at a PlayStation fanboy who we've covered before, and I'm not going to say his name or anything, but I will say he's the guy who wished that Xbox players would get COVID. I don't think I really need to say anything more, but I will say that he is salty once again over the Activision acquisition by Microsoft. So yeah, without further ado, let's get into this.
What's up, PlayStation Nation? Welcome to another episode of the Saltiest PlayStation News Report. Hope you guys are doing fantastic wherever you find yourself around the world. Yeah, Steve Jobs, man, R.I.P. The man was a genius, and I could not include that clip because...
I just need to say this real quick. The clip he's talking about was the clip that he included at the very beginning of the video. I just cut past the entire thing because it's like a minute long. It wasn't even worth speeding up, honestly, but it was basically Steve Jobs saying that, you know, Microsoft has no originality, no creativity, etc. But you know what? Sony, they're just absurdly creative, am I right? You know what? I'll save the sarcasm for a little bit later.
Kind of summarizes a little bit of how I feel about Microsoft. It's just this giant entity that creates nothing, that has no heart, and just hoover vacs up whatever they want to fill the gaps, especially with Xbox.
Yeah, they are trying to acquire whatever they want, and you know damn well that if Sony had the kind of money Microsoft did, they would be doing the exact same thing. But I love how he just goes so hard on Microsoft saying, oh yeah, they have no heart, no soul, which I agree with. They're a corporation, of course not. But do you honestly think that Sony has a heart? I know he didn't say that, oh, Sony does have a heart and a soul and they're so original, but this whole video is him bashing Microsoft for this reason, but then just completely ignoring how Sony is the exact same.
If you guys have been living under a rock, Microsoft is trying to acquire Activision Blizzard, which includes a variety of different things, including their PC launcher for Blizzard, all their properties and IPs, their mobile division. There's just a lot going on there. This acquisition, if it goes through, will be one of the biggest in history. Just to give you an idea of the money, Disney bought Fox for $71.3 billion. So if this goes down, it's a little under that at 68.7. But
yeah, that's a decent comparison, but I think the better one to use would be something like Star Wars or Bethesda. You know, this is 10 times what they paid for Bethesda. Or if you want to look at Star Wars' case, what did Disney pay for that? $4 billion? Yeah, I'm looking at it right here. They paid $4 billion for it, meaning that this acquisition is 17.5 times more expensive than the acquisition of Star Wars, arguably one of the biggest, if not the biggest movie franchises in history. And as far as I know, this is the most expensive gaming acquisition ever made.
There's a lot riding on this for the whole gaming industry, and specifically PlayStation, even though Microsoft came out multiple times during the years and said that PlayStation and Sony weren't really their competition, that their competition was really Google or let's say Amazon, but we all know the real story. Throughout this process, Microsoft is trying to kiss as many asses as it can to make sure this deal goes through because it's important for the future of their business. They've come out and said some crazy stuff.
Kind of ironic that a fanboy is gonna call other people out for kissing as many butts as possible. Because especially in your case, dude, if you guys have watched The Office, you remember that one episode? It may have been Jim and Pam's wedding. I don't exactly remember. It was much later on in the series. I think it was like season 9. And Dwight is like announcing the last names of everybody who walks in, like Mr. Jim Halpert. Dude, this is exactly what you do with PlayStation. Anytime you bring up Jim Ryan, you say, the CEO himself, Jim Ryan, making him sound like like a Greek god out here. And also, Microsoft is absolutely correct. Sony is not their competition. Sony is worth almost a 20th of what Microsoft is worth. Sony is worth 100 billion and Microsoft is worth just under 2 trillion. They are not competing in the same space at all. I guess the best way to put it is like this. Microsoft is not competing with Sony, but Sony is competing with Microsoft, if that makes sense.
Trying to downplay the acquisition. We don't have time to list all of that off. Just know Microsoft is saying whatever they need to say to try to get this deal to go through. On the other side of the coin is Sony PlayStation, and they've made it abundantly clear through this whole process that they're not down with this Activision acquisition by Microsoft for multiple reasons. One of the biggest, Jimbo Ryan came out and called Phil Spencer out on his bullshit the first time and put him on blast in the public. He basically called out the bullshit wording when it came to exclusivity with the Call of Duty franchise and how long it would be on the PlayStation platform.
You know what? Golf clap. He didn't say the CEO of PlayStation, Jim Ryan. He just said Jimbo Ryan. He's getting better, guys. This is something we should truly celebrate. I got some high C here. Does anybody want some? God, what is it with me and making people really hungry and thirsty whenever they watch my videos? Pause on all of that. Okay, but seriously, what did Jim Ryan call out Phil Spencer on? Was it the whole, oh, they're taking games away from the PlayStation gamers? Which is so hypocritical because you know how PlayStation is with the exclusives. And he's gonna keep bringing up this point again and again about the exclusivity, but do you think he's gonna mention that for Sony at all? No.
Very vague, the wording. Phil Spencer is kind of like a used car salesman. He's a wordsmith. He says things, but there's hidden meanings within those words and sentences. Shout out to Jim Ryan and his legal team for reading through the bullshit and understanding that Phil Spencer and Microsoft worded the contract, essentially, that they'd have an out around 6 years.
I mean, you're acting like Phil Spencer is the only one who says stuff just to make things happen in the business world. That's every businessman, including Jim Ryan. I mean, are you saying that we should take Jim Ryan saying that he wants to protect the PlayStation gamers at face value, even though we're not going to apply that logic to Phil Spencer? Kinda hypocritical.
So the first time they called him out, Microsoft and Phil Spencer were forced to go back to the drawing board, and then they came back with a 10-year proposal, and that's still not good enough for PlayStation and Sony and Jim Ryan for obvious reasons. Now, a lot of the haters out there against Sony are going to be like, well, why don't you guys just buck up and compete? Stop crying. You guys are scared of competition. It's not about that. It's about a phenomenon, literally a game-changing phenomenon, the likes of none other than Call of Duty, which has been insanely popular, and it's getting even popular this year, shattering records for sales.
And this is what I don't get. How is 10 extra years not good enough? That is 10 years, not from 2023, but from the end of their current contract with Call of Duty, which, in case you guys don't know, Sony's deal with Activision will end in 2024. Now, that sounds soon, but you gotta remember, Xbox has offered, what, 3 years before, and now 10 extra years. They are willing to give Sony until 2034 to figure out how they're gonna create competition. Microsoft doesn't have to give Sony anything. The fact that they were willing to go 3 extra years without even the concern of the British regulators being against this or anything is actually extremely generous. And now you're getting until 2034, and that is still not good enough for you. And yes, dude, it is absolutely about competition, because Sony knows that if Call of Duty does go exclusive to Xbox and PC someday, they're either gonna just have to lose a ton of money, or they're gonna actually have to put in effort and come up with a first-person shooter to compete with Call of Duty, which they absolutely could. Anybody remember Killzone? Or hell, even if you don't want to go with that, they just earlier this year bought Bungie, a AAA game developer that makes first-person shooters. Some of the most beloved of all time, in fact, like the Halo games.
It's not just about that. It's about all the things that are contained within this acquisition, and the fact that Microsoft is being shady. They're doing what they've done throughout history, just acquiring, buying. If it doesn't work out, no problem, throw it in the trash. We have extra money and to spare. They've done this with numerous products. One of the most recent things that they acquired and threw in the trash was Mixer. It was supposed to compete with Twitch. They were buying up streamers like Ninja, and guess what happened? It didn't meet their metrics, so they threw it in the trash. And essentially, that's what could become of whatever they decide to acquire in the gaming industry at any point.
Dude, Mixer is a completely different story. Also, Mixer was shut down 2.5 years ago, and it wasn't even even a game studio. It was a streaming platform. But want to know what the difference is between Mixer and all these game studios? With a streaming platform, it's not like that streaming platform can keep making more smaller streaming platforms, and they can keep getting chances. They literally paid the two biggest streamers in the world, like what, 30 million each, to stream exclusively on Mixer, and even that couldn't save that platform, because guess what? Nobody cared about Mixer. It was a complete failure for the 4 years that Microsoft owned it. It went literally nowhere. However, with a gaming studio, if they make a bad game that fails, they will throw the game in the dumpster, but that doesn't mean they're gonna shut down the studio. In fact, if you look up Microsoft shutting down studios, the most recent one I could find was from like 2019, and it was two studios I had never even heard of before. And before that, it was all the way back to like 2014 or something like that. You're acting like Microsoft is shutting down these studios left and right. They're not. But on top of that, this argument doesn't even make sense because Activision has been an established publisher for what, decades now? They're already a success. If Microsoft acquires them and then just lets them continue to do what they've been doing, they're gonna be just fine. And I really don't see how Microsoft's leadership could screw over Activision so badly that they have to shut it down. And I find this very ironic that he's talking about how, oh, Microsoft is shutting these studios down while he's playing an EA game. EA is notorious for shutting down studios, especially those who make single-player games. Just an ironic choice of gameplay I thought I'd throw out.
They could say, hey, this isn't making money for us, we're getting out. And then whatever happens to all the stuff that we acquired and all the, you know, it is what it is. We'll move on, we have money, and it could literally change the landscape of the gaming industry as we know it. As I was teasing in the intro, the gloves are coming off. Jimbo Ryan was talking to the New York Times, and he had some interesting things to say if that Activision deal does go through in roughly 6 months. He said this: Ryan believes that consumer choices will go away if Microsoft gets their way, while also adding that Microsoft historically tries to dominate entire industries. Microsoft is a tech giant with a long history of dominating industries. It is highly likely that the choices gamers have today will disappear if this deal goes ahead.
Dude, I'm actually done at this point. I'm actually done. Jim Ryan complaining that Microsoft is taking choice away from people when Sony is known for paying third-party developers to keep content off of not just Xbox, but also Game Pass as a whole. For Jim Ryan to start crying that Microsoft is taking away options when Microsoft has their games on way more platforms than Sony does, oh my god. Because think about it, Microsoft releases all their games day and date on Xbox and PC. They were the original ones saying, oh, we're not going to do like this generations thing. There's going to be support for the Xbox One. They have their cloud streaming service, and they are offering 10 extra years of what is going to be soon their most valuable IP to the company that has been taking games away from them for years. For Jim Ryan to get up here and say, oh, Microsoft is taking away choice, this is the most hypocritical thing I think I've ever seen. And for you to support this dude, oh my god, there is no way you are not self-aware. You have to be trolling.
Now, is Jim Ryan right in his thought process, or is he just playing scared like some of the detractors would say? I believe that Jim Ryan is 100% correct here. I think if this acquisition goes through, it's the start of a major change in the industry, and I think going forward into the future, if Microsoft continues to gobble up the industry, not just them, but all these big conglomerates, it's going to consolidate the industry, and we're not going to have the options or the decisions or choices that we have necessarily today, because there will be less choices, if that makes sense.
Again, a PlayStation fanboy complaining that they have less options now when Microsoft is still going to be giving you the games, and when Sony has a known history of making not only first-party exclusives that you can't even get on PC, but also third-party ones for companies they don't even own. Oh my god, dude, this hypocrisy. Dude, you're giving Quantum TV a run for his money, that's all I'm gonna say. But anyway, guys, that's gonna do it for this video. That's basically the end of that video, or at least the section that I wanted to cover. He basically just finishes it out by saying that, oh, he doesn't think the acquisition is gonna go through because of Europe. And he says, well, what's even the point of doing the acquisition if you have to make all these concessions and stuff? And if you have to keep the games on PlayStation? Because money, dude. Because money, that's it. But anyway, guys, guys, that's going to do it for this video. Thank you all so much for watching. Like the video if you liked it, dislike it if you didn't like it, subscribe if you want to see more, and I will catch you all next time.